Depression, anxiety, addiction, and even anorexia.
You have to sound the alarm, see a doctor, and surround yourself with supportive people.
3/4 of mental health issues appear before the age of 25, some of them acute and chronic conditions.
I realized that I'll be dealing with this my whole life, and it really got me down.
Among young people, 1/3 of them suffer from a mental health problem, and the situation is getting worse.
We're seeing 9, 10 and 11-year-olds in a really terrible state.
Long considered taboo, mental illness is starting to be discussed more openly. We're taking a closer look at how it affects young people.
In middle school, I started skipping school a lot, smoking sometimes. That behavior was already a reflection of my unhappiness. I was thinking, I don't see the point in passing my exams, finishing school. I don't see where my studies will lead me, and ultimately, I don't see where my life is going to go.
At just 23 years old, Arnaud's already suffered years of mental anguish. Today, he's a student, a keen musician, and happy in his love life. He's come a long way.
Somewhere around the age of 16, everything stopped for me. I stopped going to class, I locked myself in my room, curtains closed, I stopped eating. And so at that point, the depression was there. What it felt like was that I was just waiting for death.
A few years later, Arnaud overdosed on a mix of drugs and alcohol.
When I have a suicidal episode, it's a real psychological breakdown. It might last for a very short time, a kind of major psychological breakdown, where I'm already feeling bad, and suddenly it's like I'm in the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean, and I feel so bad that I think, okay, this is it.
In February 2025, another suicide attempt led to him spending several weeks in a psychiatric hospital. He came out with a diagnosis. Arnaud has bipolar disorder.
It explains so many things about me, about how I've been feeling for years, about my suicide attempts. It explains so much that when I heard it, I thought, phew, finally.
Bipolar disorder involves extreme phases of elation and depression. It usually develops between the ages of 15 and 25.
I feel relieved now because I understand that getting a diagnosis will probably lead to treatment, and I'll be able to deal with all this.
Now Arnaud's treatment keeps his condition stable, and weekly sessions with a psychotherapist also help him maintain a good balance.
Bonjour. Merci.
Guy Benamozig founded La Vita 10 years ago. This association offers free mental health consultations for young people aged 13 to 25.
We call it a dangerous age because it's a time of metamorphosis, transformation, and a search for identity. We're seeing that the age range is dropping, though, and we're seeing 9, 10, and 11-year-olds who are in a really terrible state.
Young people's mental health has deteriorated since the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns it prompted.
We're dealing with a number of crises. The pandemic, of course, but also the climate crisis and also the feeling that war may be brewing. So this is an atmosphere that has an impact on children and teenagers who are already fragile. And that does exacerbate their disorders.
Mental disorders are particularly prevalent among young girls.
I find it extremely difficult to go to school. So I'm enrolled in a long-distance learning program, so at least I don't have to deal with the daily stress of going to school.
14-year-old Alice did not want to show her face for this report. Since September, she's been following classes remotely after years of suffering at middle school.
What are you doing this morning?
I'm doing biology.
Okay, I'll let you get to work. Call me if you need anything.
Alice suffers from anxious school refusal, sometimes called school phobia. This disorder is affecting more and more teenagers.
In the morning before leaving the house, it was really, really hard. I didn't want to go because truly, for me, school was like hell. I would start to get these stomach aches and feel like I was going to throw up. It was like something was squeezing my throat, and I was struggling to breathe, to talk. My head was spinning.
Like half of all students with school phobia, Alice was a victim of bullying. Since she was 11 years old, she'd been targeted by other girls at her school.
For example, sometimes they'd stand in the middle of the playground. They'd make fun of me and insult me. They also spread rumours that I was involved in some kind of cult. They spread rumours that were completely false, but which ended up scaring people. Once I was sitting on a bench with a friend, working, and they came over, took my notebook, threw it on the ground, took my pencil case and bag, emptied them on the ground and crushed everything.
Alice often sought refuge with the school nurse when she had panic attacks. Her anxiety has been a huge source of concern for her mother.
At first, when she told me she didn't want to go to school, I didn't really take it seriously. I told her, no, that's not possible. You can't skip school because you have a stomachache. I changed my mind because I saw that it was really affecting her. She had been a happy, lively little girl, and then I saw her becoming more and more withdrawn. Even everyday things which normally wouldn't be a problem made her feel anxious. Going shopping, leaving the house, it was all starting to become very complicated. That's when I thought, there's definitely something going on here. This can't be normal.
Celine arranged for her daughter to move schools, but the bullying and school phobia continued. She's been seeking medical help for Alice, but there's a shortage of specialists in their area. In France, the number of child psychiatrists has fallen by 34% in 12 years, and in some districts, there are none.
Getting an appointment with a child psychiatrist around here was very difficult because there aren't many of them, and the waiting lists can be extremely long. I submitted an application in January to get treatment close to home, and I received a response in July. In the meantime, I tried to get an appointment on medical websites where you can have video consultations. You really have to check the sites several times a day, but it's all video calls. It's impossible to see someone in person.
Alice has also developed emetophobia, an irrational fear of vomiting, so she avoids certain foods. In France, eating disorders affect 1 in 4 adolescents, mainly girls.
Ever since secondary school, I always thought I was too fat. I compared myself to the other girls my age, comparing my figure, the size of my thighs, how slim my stomach was.
When she turned 16, Capucine's teenage hang-ups took a pathological turn, and she developed anorexia.
So right from the start, I began to remove all fat from my diet. Then I ate nothing but vegetables for almost 3 years. I felt terrible mentally, and above all, I had strategies to cancel out what I ate, like taking laxatives, vomiting, excessive exercise, etc.
Between the ages of 16 and 19, Capucine was admitted to hospital 4 times. Standing at 1.59 meters, her weight dropped to 31 kilos. She suffered from body dysmorphic disorder. Her perception of her weight was totally warped.
When I weighed 31 kilos, I still saw myself as fat, even though you could see my bones everywhere. When I look at the photos now, it's horrible. But at the time, my body, my reality was totally distorted. And in the mirror, what I saw wasn't real at all.
Difficult circumstances and a perfectionist personality provide fertile ground for anorexia. Once the illness has set in, social media often sends many young sufferers into a downward spiral.
Here you can see her height and her weight, which is very low, 1.75 meters tall, weighing 44 kilos.
At the height of her illness, Capucine was often looking at posts where young women talk about weight loss and diets. And the more she watched these videos, the more the algorithm included them on her feed.
Look, this girl is counting the total calories that she eats in a day. It's 900. That's really not much, considering that our daily requirement is 2,000 calories. She doesn't eat proper meals. She chews gum to stop feeling hungry.
Here, extreme thinness is an aspirational kind of beauty.
On social media, being thin is really in the spotlight because it's extremely valued by society, and so they get lots of compliments from young girls who want to be like them.
Today, Capucine is doing much better. Her recent hospital stay meant she was able to gain 15 kilos over 4 months, but the shadow of anorexia still hangs over the family.
Meal times are still tense, and she's admitted that she doesn't really trust us with the food. We have to follow the exact quantities in the recipe. She checks it all beforehand. And then she watches us carefully to make sure we don't add any fat.
Anorexia has the highest mortality rate of all mental illnesses. Nearly 1 in 10 people who suffer from it don't survive.
In general, what happens is either a heart attack or suicide. So yes, it took us a long time to realize just how urgent the situation was.
Capucine's mother has joined a support group for victims of eating disorders. It's helped her cope with this ordeal so she can help her daughter take the next steps to a healthier, more peaceful future.